Hey, what's going on, guys? Timzy here, and today we're going to be talking about everything you need to know about the new Operation Neon Dawn coming to Rainbow Six pretty soon. So if you guys want to sit back and relax, let's get into it. I'm going to go through these as quick as I possibly can, but if there's something in particular you want to see, I'll leave timestamps down in the comments below so that you guys can skip ahead. So let's talk about Aruni. She is a 2-speed, 2-armor defending trap operator that has access to the P10 Roni and the MK14 DMR, as well as access to the PRB handgun, and barbed wire and proximity mines are going to be her secondary gadgets. On the P10 Roni, she does not have access to the 1.5x like Mozzie does, but on the MK14, she does have access to that 1.5. She does not have access to the 3.0, if that's what you guys were thinking. So moving on to her gadgets, she has access to the Surya Gate, which is a laser generating device that she can place on soft walls, reinforced walls, windows, doors, and even hatches. And she actually has up to 5 of these gadgets, although they are subject to possibly change between now and the actual release of the season. But she currently does have 5 as shown in the reveal. So what does this gadget do? If you throw it up on a doorway, it has a little bit of a setup time, but once it's fully set up, you'll notice that by the red lasers that are covering the entire point of entry. And the only way to counter this, it's actually indestructible, but the only way to counter the gadget is to throw some sort of projectile through whatever door or wall or hatch that the laser is on. And that can mean flashbangs, smokes, drones, ash charges, Zofia impacts, pretty much any sort of projectile you can think of. If it breaks the barrier of the laser, it will disable the laser for 30 seconds, and it will be down until the attackers shoot the actual generator after that 30-second cooldown. So you do want to be careful whenever you're throwing your projectiles through it. Although you can throw your projectile, there is a cooldown between when the projectile gets thrown through the laser and the laser actually deactivates, so you can still take damage if you try to throw a flashbang through, for example, and walk in right after. And if you manage to run out of projectile utility, you can brute force your way through that door or through that wall, but you will take 40 damage and potentially up to 80 damage if you do stand in the door frame the entire time, just with the way the gadget works. So Aruni is one of the few operators that has a passive ability, and that passive ability is her bionic arm. She can actually melee full-on holes, rotate holes in lines of sight with just her bionic arm, and that means also opening up hatches with just one punch. So that's going to be Aruni pretty much summed up from what we see in the reveal. There are definitely some changes that may happen and things that I definitely want to check out whenever the test server does come live to PC. But anyways, let's talk about the other changes. So let's run through some of these small changes real quick, although this is a change that I think will be huge for a lot of players. But the runout timer was reduced from 2 seconds to 1 second, and it kind of seems like the timer starts the second you are getting out of a doorway or hopping through a window. So I think it's going to be a really good change, especially for a lot of newer players, because this game is pretty brutal, especially at the start for a lot of new players that get into the game. I'm sure a lot of early deaths are going to be from runouts and spawn peaks, so hopefully this gives the attackers a lot more time to react, and overall just be a better environment for a lot of newer players. So let's talk about our next little change that it seems like they really didn't talk about, but Ash now no longer has access to flashbangs. She only has access to breach charges and claymores now. And she now has 3 Ash charges instead of 2, which I think with the recent Jaeger change, which I'll get to right after this, I think it's something that's going to be good for the current meta that we're in. So moving on to Jaeger, which is arguably one of the biggest nerfs I've seen in a while, especially for an operator that hasn't really been changed since day 1. But he still has access to 3 ADSs. Instead of having 2 charges per ADS, it now has an infinite number of charges in theory. But the downside of this is if an ADS catches a flashbang, for example, it'll then go into a disabled state for 10 seconds. So that means within that 10-second window, you can get nades off, you can shoot ash charges, destroy shields and other pieces of utility. And after that 10 seconds, it'll come back up with another charge that it can catch another ADS or something like that. So it will require a little bit of coordination to clear utility within that 10-second window. But overall, I'm hoping it's a change that doesn't strongly affect the game, but I think it's something that will definitely make a huge change to the current meta. But I think it's something that is a little bit necessary, although I think it definitely can be tweaked a little bit so it's not as drastic of a nerf to Jaeger. Alright, so moving on to Hibana. She's actually getting a really, really big buff, I think, and people may not notice it right away, but she now has access to shoot 2, 4, or 6 pellets while you have her gadget out. So that means hatches, for example, take 4 pellets to fully destroy. So instead of shooting 6 pellets to get a hatch, you can now only shoot 4 instead of wasting that 2 extra pellets. And she normally has 3 different shots, but now instead of having 3 shots for her pellets, she now has 18 total pellets. So that means you can shoot the gadget 4 pellets at a time to get 4 different hatches, and you still have 2 extra pellets left in the gun. So it's a pretty big buff. I think it's going to be really good, especially for something like impact tricking on the clubhouse hatch. The kitchen hatch is very, very annoying to deal with because a lot of people impact trick it, but I think you can pretty much bait the impact tricking by shooting 2 pellets at a time instead of shooting 4 to 6 at a time. So you can kind of waste those 2 to 4 impacts that a lot of defending teams bring, and then you'll still have, even if you waste all 4 impacts and 2 pellets at a time, you only waste 8 pellets total, which means you'll still have 10 more pellets to get the hatch, maybe get a second hatch, and then you have 2 more pellets to make any sort of line of sight that you need to. So one change that I wasn't fully expecting is Echo. His Echo drone is no longer invisible when you place it on the ceiling, which I think is a good change in a way, but also I know a lot of people are going to be upset about it. But I think it'll only raise the skill ceiling for Echo mains and Echo players because it'll just make it that much harder to be a better Echo, and you have to play a lot safer when it comes to your Echo drones since you can't really rely on it being invisible the entire time. So with all of these op changes, we now also have a map rework, of course. So this season, we're looking to see Skyscraper as a map rework. All right, so I'm just going to show you guys pretty much the floor plan of both of the floors so that you guys can kind of see everything you want to look at, but I'm also going to explain it. So when it comes to tea room and karaoke, one of the biggest changes is you can see the balcony that is outside of those rooms, the karaoke window and geisha window, is actually completely gone. It's no longer there, but you can still rappel on those windows if you need to, but you're not going to have attackers that are just going to sit outside the balcony and sit outside the windows the entire time because Skyscraper turned into just a window fest. And also, the bigger change is Dragon. Dragon used to be on the exterior part of the map, but now it's actually going to be inside the map, so the defenders are going to be able to utilize that to kind of rotate between one side of the map and the other side of the map. Other than those 2 changes, we still have the exhibition office balcony. You can open up that VIP wall. All 3 staircases seem to be in similar locations, although it looks like Geisha actually now has an extension that leads to the drum room, which is looking pretty nice. And then, of course, if you look in the middle of your screen, there's actually a catwalk, it seems like, that leads between tea room and towards the dragon side. So you can actually open up the back tea room wall, and you don't have to deal with anybody sitting behind the grates in tea room. So overall, it looks like really good changes. I guess we'll have to wait and see what it looks like when we get into the game on the test servers. All right, moving now to the first floor plan. We have the left-hand side I can see right away. There is no balcony outside of that hallway barbecue window, and as well as there's also no barbecue window and no exterior kitchen wall. So it seems like kitchen and barbecue may be a lot more viable. On the left-hand side of the map, other than those couple changes, it seems like a lot of the floor plan is pretty similar, maybe a few different size changes. It looks like bathroom may be a little bit bigger, but I want to talk about the middle. So the front desk, or elevators as it used to be called, it used to be only a hallway that led from one side of the map to the other, and then of course you also had the front door that led into that room. But now it looks like delivery leads into what we used to call elevator, and you can actually go in all 3 directions. So it looks like there's a bit more rotation potential for both the attackers and the defenders. And as you can see on the bathroom wall on the right-hand side for bathroom and master, there's actually a soft wall now on that bathroom wall instead of only being a hard surface. And it seems like there is still a window that you can hop through to get into bathroom. But on the right-hand side, I think probably has the most changes. That looks like there is a little bit of an exterior hallway. Or on the balcony, there's a hallway that you can walk into, kind of like a mudroom in Chalet. And it also leads into a little cubicle inside of Master. But I think these are changes that we'll have to check out once we get into the game. Anyways, guys, that is pretty much everything you need to know about the new season. Hopefully, I went through everything and I didn't miss something. But if I did, definitely let me know down in the comments below so that other people can kind of read it and check it out as well. But I think I went through everything of significant importance. And if this is the first time you guys are checking out the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We have a lot of videos coming out this month of November in December, so hopefully you guys will enjoy that. But anyways, guys, I will catch you in the next video. Peace.